Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far as Rostermania is coming to a conclusion. Gunless though still does not have a team as it presently stands. About 9 days ago, he said that he would be forced to retire if he didn't get a visa in the next 10 days. We are about 1 day away from that potentially becoming a reality now, and many have suggested could OpTic be a good target for Gunless. Can be a flex player, got some experience with some of those guys. Is that potentially a destination, given that it's kind of unclear as it stands who the replacement might be for the OpTic team if something goes wrong yet again? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Let's dive straight into things here with some Rostermania things in the challenger side. This from Yeez, himself, Exotic and Gintroid. Team of 3 for the Modern Warfare 2 seasons, and many announcements like this will come out. The funny thing is really with challenger stuff in general is that even though they say this might be the team of 3, the likelihood is, I mean, it's not exactly likely, but challengers changes so regularly that even if they say there's a team, it's far from guaranteed that when the game actually launches in a few weeks' time, that is actually going to be the team they go with. Now, just to mention this real quick, because yesterday we did discuss the fact that Scrapp's potentially the sub for London. This, we didn't really have any concrete proof or anything this was going to happen. It was just Benji and Nassim saying he'd heard that was a possibility. Now, his brother Waskin, of course, we don't know what Waskin's future intentions might be. He might be grinding through the challenger stuff, right? But I'm sure he knows what his brother is up to and the likelihood of his brother getting this spot. And as he says, they ain't ready for the kid on panels. This also interesting just because Scraps used to play, I'm pretty sure the last time, at least a few years ago, he used to play on literally a default controller. No paddles, no, I don't even know if he played claw. I'm pretty sure he literally had to take his thumb off the thumbstick to jump, right? He had to jump and press X, right, and take his thumb off it. Didn't use pedals, used nothing like that. Octane was similar a few years ago, and he then actually, came to the light side, I suppose, and using these advanced controller mapping methods with Scuffs, Battle Beavers, and other alternatives that now exist. Now, as Waskin says, they ain't ready for the kid on paddles, right? So maybe if Scraps, like, he was a good player before, now he's using paddles and playing, like, probably good IQ, or at least how most of the pros play with the advantageous controllers that they have, like, is Scraps going to be, coming seriously different, right? And it wouldn't surprise me necessarily to see Scraps in that London tee by the end of the year, if, of course, he proves his worth to some degree in the challenger side, which he probably still has to do to earn his spots back in that starting roster, unless they just are completely terrible and need to bring Scraps in as the last and final call. Now, let's speak about the Black Ops 2 throwback tourney that's going on in a couple of weeks' time, that Hitch, of course, and the TST boys are putting on. Crim6 is going to be there. Fantastic stuff. This, in fairness, expected, but these teams, man, are going to be so much fun, and I believe one of them has now been confirmed. We'll see here in a second, but Crim is going to be attending. We saw some of the other attendees a couple of days ago, of course, the kind of captains of the team and the like. But yeah, Crim's going to be going. Also, Karma's going to be going as well. Black Ops 2 World Champion. Time to run it back. So this is going to be great fun. I'm sure that, just the quality of the actual competitive Call of Duty action there compared to what we're going to have about 2 weeks later when Modern Warfare 2 launches is going to be a night and day difference. But it's great to see some of these OG guys getting back in business. I really enjoy this time of year when Hitch manages to put this stuff on. Now, one team has been confirmed. That is Team Scump. Going into this, we knew that it was going to be Scump and Big Timer +2. This is the team announcement they come out with, kind of a minute 14 here. So yeah, November $25,000 Black Ops 2 Invitational. And of course, yeah, Big Timer is going to be in the team. Scumpy there as well. So already an incredibly entertaining squad. And I mean, yeah, here's some highlights here from Scump. So I like how they do it like a proper team announcement here, as if it was, like what they might do back in the day. Arcitys is going to be the third man for the team here. Of course, I think we saw him attend a couple of days ago. I think that works pretty well in terms of vibes and chemistry and stuff. And then Bristini is going to be the fourth guy. So the two twins, Bristini and Arcitys, Scump and Big Timer. That's a great team. And I do enjoy the kind of mix right there between the old guard, the newer school to some degree. I think it's a fun environment they're going to have, right? It would be nice to put together some of the real OG squads and run it back with like a four-man team that used to actually play in Black Ops 2 together. But I think this is another good way of doing it as well. So as we go into the OpTic situation, I wanted to say a few words on coaches, because Rostermania is pretty much at an end. We believe we know what teams are going to be where. We don't know what substitutes are going to be where, though, which is a big topic in a couple of seconds. But also coaches, right? Lots of talk about where coaches were going to go. We thought that Phoenix for a time, I think, might go to Toronto. He ended up staying on the Seattle Surge, but it was actually aBeZy that left Toronto to go to Los Angeles Guerrillas, and there was some talk that maybe Cinder was going to either join at aBeZy there, or he was going to go to the Subliners as their kind of assistant guy to Derail, or that maybe Cinder was trying to be the main guy over at LAG before aBeZy then got that spot. Then there was talks about the possibility of JP Krez coming into OpTic as their analyst, replacing Cinder, and now that might not be no longer on the table, right? and therefore potentially Sender's going to be back there. So it's a bit of a messy situation, and it's always difficult really with coaches to figure out how good exactly they are. You can only really trust their results to some degree, but also the players they play with. Like, people consider Crowder, right, to be either the greatest of all time in terms of a coaching department or, Rambo or whatever, but you can argue it's because those two as coaches have had the best results. They've won events, they've won championships, they've won world championships, both of them as coaches, but mainly that's partly because they've got the best players, right? So how do you really tell how good a coach is from the outside, especially in Call of Duty, unless they manage to coach a team which shouldn't be very good to actually being much greater than the sum of their parts? Then you can give them a lot of credit, I think. But it's really difficult to say how good certain coaches are, and it's difficult to, keep the perceptions up of that. So Sender, I know the team in OpTic actually rates him very highly. I was kind of surprised initially by the rumors and his even announcement, Sender, that he was going to look in for offers, and seemed like they were going to get rid of him, just because I thought maybe keeping two of them and then bringing an analyst as well, that might be the thing that makes the most sense. But we'll see what they decide to do. A clip did come out though during the HES event a couple of days ago where kind of Shotzzy and Scump are talking about this, and Shotzy's baiting about Sender going to LAG, and Scump's like, do you know something I don't? He's like, look, I'm trolling. I'm pretty sure as it stands, Sender's going to stay.
Damn, I'm going to miss Michael's.
Three are dead for FaZe,
What?
ABeZy, Overshield, and
Heatwave.
And again, OpTic have been able to wrestle back this ball and now have control.
Did he ever announce where he's going next or not?
Grenade, that could be
LAG,
ABeZy.
I think.
He's communicating.
He texted me, he was like, yo, I'm going to New York, I'll see you.
Are you dead ass? Wait, are you actually dead ass right now? Are you trolling?
Trolling.
Okay, I was about to say, is there something I don't know? Like, I was about to lose full.
Wait, I don't know if I was trolling. I swear I saw a tweet.
Nah, he's not. That's not. He's trolling. She's trolling, chat.
And even CDL Scrum Intel kind of commented on this, right? Because a few days ago now he said that Sender to joining New York Subliners was on the cards, and I believe that very much was going to happen. And then maybe the JP Krez thing to OpTic fell through. Not exactly sure what's really happened there, but apparently now, based on what they've been saying on stream, that Sender will be staying on this roster. So the guys obviously rated him. It's difficult. Like the whole OpTic drama this entire offseason has been crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some drama as well on the coaching side that we either don't know about or will find out about in the coming days and weeks. But yeah, apparently, like obviously, as he says, OpTic have been all over the place this offseason. Anything could happen. But what we currently believe is that Sender's going to stay here, which I think will be probably good news to a lot of OpTic fans who liked Sender and liked what he brought to this particular roster. Now, of course, the other side of things then is who's going to round out their team. We know full well that some teams really love to just not spend any money if they could possibly get away with it and potentially bring in their coach as a sub. We don't know what the plan is, let's say, with the Vegas Legion this season, but of course they've got Clay, Temp, Prolute, and TJ as their team of four. You would think that really with that team, you need like an SMG player on your bench to try and bring in if anything goes wrong. Like that's how at least I would do it. But Paris and Vegas don't seem to like to spend any more money than they have to, and therefore they might do what they've done previously and just put Theory on their bench again. Their coach just becomes the bench player, which I think would be an absolute disaster. But of course, the top teams don't tend to do that, right? They're going to bring in a proper sub just in case things go wrong, as of course things did in large numbers this past season when substitutes were required relatively often in the CDL, and we might expect that to continue, especially because the OpTic situation is still rather precarious. We know the team has stuck together as a squad of four, but the iLLeY thing is still a big question mark to many. Can iLLeY, is his stomach going to be okay? We don't believe he's done any surgery or whatever over the past couple of weeks. There was initially some talking points that during the off season, that's when he would be kind of, doing surgery or recovery or whatever it might be. We haven't really heard much about that, so there is some concern when the game launches, especially because the season is starting earlier this year and the game comes out a little bit earlier than usual, that will iLLeY be 100% good to go? And even if he's 100% good to go at the start of the season, does that remain in a couple of months' time? It's a little bit of a difficult situation, right? And we thought initially they were going to bench him just because they weren't sure about the consequences. So look, if it's a possibility that iLLeY has to step out again for whatever reason, or if there's just another substitute situation requires someone gets ill, hurts their hand or whatever, it's happened in the past, it'll happen again in the future, then you might need someone to step in. So Prolute was the perfect guy for that last season, can run a sub, can run a flex role, replace iLLeY very well for that OpTic team initially, but he's now going to be on Vegas, it seems, right? So they can't just bring him in again, and General we kind of knew wasn't the ideal guy from that perspective as well, because he can only really run a main AR and can't do the roles that might be required on the team. Therefore, which player could be a good idea? We talked about TJ a while ago as well. He's now going to be on Vegas. Vegas, but Gunless could be an option. So on the 20th of September, he tweeted this out saying he's got 10 more days to find a sub spot before my visa is chalked, and if he can't get a green card, he needs the visa back for having a spot on one of these teams, even to compete in challenges, right, before he might be forced to retire. I'm not sure what the difference is really between Gunless' situation and the situation of some of those other Canadian players that can play in challenges, but Gunless, incredibly talented player. He was, in fairness, with the OpTic guys before, like when they were on the Chicago Huntsmen, right? So I'll show a couple of clips here from the flank where they talk about the fact that Gunless could be a good option for this team. They definitely think he should be in the league, probably as a starter, but if not, a bench spot on OpTic, could that make a lot of sense?
Gunless, man.
Someone give my guy a substitute spot,
yeah,
please.
I feel bad for Gunless,
That's
man.
actually crazy, bro.
Because he got sick and he ended up losing his spot.
I don't understand it though, because there are other Canadians too that live in Canada that like royalty and exotic, and they play in challengers. I wonder what's different about their situation compared to Pierce, where it's like they can come here and compete and he can't. Like I doubt they have visas.
Well, there are Canadian players in the past that have run into visa issues. Like we named like ASIM situation from a couple of years ago. Like that like had to get.
Well, hold on. Let me rewind. Hold on. Let me rewind. The fact that Gunless is not starting in the league is a serious problem.
He like real friendships and relationships that can just get him on a team. Because to me, I mean, if it comes down to skill, there's no shot some of these players should be in this league over him.
I agree.
Especially
I
knowing like, especially knowing he's not like demanding like the same type of contracts that like Krim or Clay is, right? He probably would play for a min just to renew his visa and be in the league. So
300K, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's just one of those things where it's just like you just have to have a relationship
spot right now. So I think he'd take anything.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think he should be a starter. Like looking at who other starters are.
I agree with you.
Well, I mean, let's take it a step further. I know his tenure on this franchise didn't go too well the first year of the CDL, but like if you're OpTic and you're worried about the Ender situation, Pierce is someone in that could professionally fill that spot with like 5 hours notice. Pierce would be a potential good spot for a sub. I know obviously the backside of that is his tenure on OpTic did not go particularly well last time. But I agree with you. I think he definitely is.
When was he on OpTic?
In the league.
Huntsman. Okay,
yeah. That was basically real OpTic.
That was a sick brand.
So we know, of course, there is some history with Gunless and those guys, that organization. Of course, he played with Scump before, back in the Modern Warfare days. Of course, 3 years ago now on the Chicago Huntsmen, as it was. Now, look, obviously, the drama that season was between Gunless and Envoy. Those two had some friction going on at some point of the season, relatively early on, and Gunless eventually was the one that went out of that team. We know that historically, Gunless has not been the easiest guy to team with necessarily, but in terms of a player that can actually potentially replace iLLeY if necessary, even if for a short period or something, like Gunless should be pretty much, out of all the players that you could potentially sign, one of the best to get into that particular role. He's got a lot of tenure, championship experience under his belt, a very experienced player, good at all modes in general, like, and obviously a leadership character as well. If they need him to bring leadership and stuff, Gunless can certainly do that. So I really think there's no player out there that makes more sense for this role than Gunless, unless, they consider it to be a bit of a risk. Now, they might not sign Gunless now, the one day before his visa expires or whatever. They might sign him in a month or so's time, who knows, or another organization goes for this route. But if you guys are OpTic fans, what do you think about this, right? The squad of 4, if you needed a substitute player, should Gunless be a candidate? Because, like, in terms of running all roles as well, Gunless can run an AR. He's probably better suited to a flex role, but he can also be an SMG player. He's done that successfully in the past as well. He was the best flex player bar none back in World War II a few years ago. I still think he can do that to some degree to this day. And we saw with Los Angeles Guerrillas last season, before his illness and he had to have the surgery, he was arguably their best player for the first part of the season. And his methods is saying it would be an absolute shock for him not to be in the league, and I think that OpTic might make a fair bit of sense to him. So definitely tweet your thoughts on that one in the comment section below. And on the same topic, really, just to mention this, that Hulk Hogan fan puts in on the Reddit here with Classic slacked John Formal. Of course, Formal's now in Halo, but in a Gunless as well. None of these guys are even getting a league spot for this new season. Well, of course, Formal's there with different spots, but I mean, yeah, all these guys now not getting a starting spot, it seems, which is kind of crazy to think about. This, of course, the Rampart event, Fort Worth 2019. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit in a like button. Tell us the YouTube gods, this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And hope grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.